Something happens every time your dog walks into a room where your cat is sitting. The cat's tail goes up, the dog's tail goes up too. And then everything falls apart. You've always assumed you know why. You're wrong. The reason those two animals cannot be in the same room without tension has nothing to do with personality or instinct, or the fact that one of them is bigger. It goes back to a moment in evolutionary history when two completely different survival strategies collided and never recovered. Here's what's actually happening. When your dog wags its tail, it means one thing: I am happy. I am not a threat. Come closer. Every dog on Earth uses a wagging tail to signal friendliness, submission, the desire for contact. It's one of the most consistent communication signals in the animal kingdom. Tens of thousands of years of living alongside humans reinforced it until it became almost universal. Your cat reads a wagging tail as aggression, not misreads, because in cat language, a moving tail means exactly one thing: I am agitated. Back away. When a cat moves its tail, it is issuing a warning. And when your dog walks over with its whole back end swinging, it is, in perfect, fluent cat, screaming that it is about to attack. Your dog is saying hello. Your cat hears a threat, and the dog, completely confused by the hissing, retreats, which in dog language signals fear or submission. But a retreating dog, head lowered, is the exact posture a cat uses before it pounces. So now the cat thinks the dog confirmed the threat and is preparing to strike. Neither of them is wrong. They are both reading the situation correctly, in their own language. That's not a behavioral problem. That's a communication system so fundamentally incompatible that 4,000 years of living in the same houses hasn't been enough to bridge it. And here's what's strange. This didn't happen by accident. They developed opposite languages because for millions of years they occupied the exact same ecological niche, and the pressure to not be confused with each other was a matter of survival. Go back about 30 million years. The ancestors of modern cats and the ancestors of modern dogs were not pets. They weren't even vaguely familiar with each other. They were competing predators, hunting the same prey across the same landscapes, using two completely different strategies that each required absolute clarity of communication within their own species. Dogs, or rather the canid lineage that would eventually become dogs, were pack hunters, wolves, animals that coordinated pursuit across open ground, communicated constantly through body language and vocalization, and needed every member of the group to read every signal instantly and correctly. Their communication system evolved to be expressive, obvious, and high volume. Tails, ears, posture, sound, all of it amplified so that every member of the pack 200 meters away could read the situation in real time. Cats evolved alone. The felid lineage is built on solitary ambush. You don't need to signal your pack when you don't have a pack. You need to be unreadable, unpredictable. A cat's survival depended on giving away as little information as possible, moving in silence, communicating only when necessary, and when it did communicate, being absolutely precise. Every signal a cat sends is a last resort, a warning that something is about to go wrong. Two systems, opposite design principles, built by evolution to solve the same problem, hunting, in completely opposite ways. And then humans put them in the same kitchen. But that didn't happen overnight. For most of human history, dogs and cats occupied completely separate roles and completely separate spaces. Dogs came first. The domestication of wolves began somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, depending on which study you read. They came into human life as hunters, as guards, as working animals that moved with humans across open landscape. Dogs lived outside. Dogs traveled. Dogs were tools of the frontier. Cats arrived much later, around 10,000 years ago, and for entirely different reasons. Not because humans went looking for them, because cats followed the rats that followed the grain that humans had started storing. Cats were indoor animals from the beginning, settlement animals. They occupied a completely different physical space within early human civilization. For thousands of years, dogs and cats didn't share a home. They shared a civilization, but from opposite ends of it. The dog at the gate, the cat in the granary. Two animals that served humans in completely different capacities without ever being required to negotiate with each other. The Romans were probably the first to force the issue. Roman households, particularly wealthy ones, kept both animals simultaneously as a matter of status. Dogs for protection and hunting, cats for pest control. Mosaics from Pompeii show both animals present in domestic spaces. And Roman writers noted, with what reads as genuine puzzlement, that the two animals seemed constitutionally incapable of tolerating each other. They didn't have an explanation. They just observed it as fact. They had no way of knowing they were watching 30 million years of divergent evolution playing out on a tile floor. Here's what nobody tells you about the famous animosity between cats and dogs. It is entirely learned. Kittens raised with dogs from the first 2 weeks of life do not show fear responses to dogs. Puppies raised with cats don't chase them. The aggression, the tension, the 1,000 years of cartoon rivalry, all of it is the product of animals meeting each other after the window for learning has already closed. That window closes at around 7 weeks for cats, at around 12 weeks for dogs. Before that point, the brain is still building its model of what the world looks like. What is safe? What is a predator? What is a potential companion? Neuroscientists call this the critical socialization period, a window of neurological plasticity where the brain is actively categorizing the world into threat and non-threat, familiar and foreign. During this window, a kitten can learn that a dog is safe. A puppy can learn that a cat is not prey. The categories are still being written. After that point, the model is largely fixed, not completely. Animals can learn, adjust, habituate, but the baseline categories are set. And anything that wasn't written in as safe during that window gets filed, by default, under unknown. And unknown, for a predator, defaults to threat. Most cats and dogs meet each other as adults. And an adult cat meeting a dog for the first time is not meeting a dog. It is meeting an unknown large predator with unpredictable movements and a communication style that reads influent cat as constant agitation. The fear response that activates is not irrational. It is the product of millions of years of very rational survival calculation, firing inside a brain whose categorization window closed months or years before this moment. This is the part that should stop you for a second. The hatred isn't real, the fear is real. And the fear is the result of a timing problem. Two animals with incompatible communication systems meeting each other after the period where compatibility could have been built. It's not personality, it's not species. It's a window that closed before they got the chance. And here's what's strange about what happens next. When cats and dogs do manage to coexist, when they're raised together or introduced carefully over weeks, or simply forced by circumstance to share a space long enough, something unexpected happens. They don't learn each other's language. They build a new one. Researchers studying interspecies communication between household cats and dogs have documented something that has no clean scientific name yet. Animals that coexist long enough begin developing signals that exist in neither species' original repertoire. A specific posture that means play in this particular relationship. A vocalization that functions as a greeting between these two specific animals and nowhere else. A negotiated private language, invented from scratch, by two creatures whose evolutionary history gave them every reason to never communicate at all. It doesn't happen with every pair. It requires time, proximity, and a level of neurological flexibility that not every individual animal has. But it happens, but more often than most people expect. There are documented cases of cats and dogs that, after years of cohabitation, developed what researchers describe as referential communication. One animal deliberately drawing the other's attention to a specific object or location. Behavior that in any other context would be described as intentional, as minded, as something closer to friendship than biology is supposed to allow. Your cat and your dog are not enemies because they hate each other. They are strangers who learned two languages that mean opposite things, met each other too late to start over, and are doing their best with the translation tools they have, which are almost none. 30 million years of diverging evolution. Two survival strategies that never needed to understand each other. Thousands of years living at opposite ends of the same human civilization. And then one species, yours, decided they should share a living room. It's the gap between two worlds that were never meant to speak. And the cats and dogs that do find a way across that gap. The ones that build their own language out of nothing, that learn to read a creature that evolution designed to be unreadable. They're not just getting along. They're doing something that took humans thousands of years to figure out. They're choosing to try anyway.